Hi guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is the comfort reading book tag. Now I was tagged to do this by the lovely Alice from Alice and her Giant Bookshelf, who is absolutely lovely. She has a great cat called Harry who's in lots of videos, like Sweep, who is over there and asleep at the moment. She is doing an amazing job at tackling her unread book TBR thing, a physical TBR. She's doing it way better than me. She's a lovely lady and a great friend, and just check her out. So I'll link her video for this down below because she's got the prompts, and you know me, I don't always do that. I'm going to tell the people that I'm tagging straight away because, well, I think I'm going to start doing it that way. So I'm going to tag Angie from Angie's Book Chatter. She's lovely, great, one of my booktube besties. Tori from Hufflepuff Discovery. Haven't tagged you in a while, Tori. I think you'd be good at doing this. And lastly, Roz from Scally Daggly with the books, because I haven't tagged her either for a while. So go on, you're tagged. Anyone else that wants to do it, please feel free to do it and let me know that you've done it. And let's get on. There is 10 prompts. I've had to go onto an extra piece of paper on it. My handwriting's awful because I've tried to fit it all into 2 pages. So yeah, let's get on with the rambling book. Now, the one thing I will say about this is it's a comfort reading tag, and it asks you about books that make you basically comfort books. And they're kind of insinuating that you've read the books more than once. And you know me, don't tend to reread very often. So not very many of these books have been reread, but they're books that have really stood out to me. So kind of go with me on this one because I don't tend to reread very often, and I've got so many books to get through. Rereading is quite hard. So bear with me on this one, okay? So prompt number 1, The Kettle On, a book with steadfast comfort, always there for you to make any day better, like a cup of tea or your favourite warm drink. I've decided to go with a Jenny Colgan book that I read this year, I think, but I think I've read it before as well. This is the one I've read twice, and it's The Endless Beach by Jenny Colgan. This is the start of the Muir series, which you know I'm reading with the lovely Nikki from Red Dot Reads. The reason why I picked this book is because it's got a seaside kitchen. It's the start of the Muir series, and the Muir series is one of my favourite series. I think this is the start of the series. And this is, oh no, this is actually the second in the series. Oopsie. But this is a brilliant book anyway. It's about the Endless Beach. It's about the lovely Flora, who I absolutely friggin' love. Yeah, I think this is the first in the series. I can't remember, sorry guys. But this is about the Muir series, and this is about Flora, who I absolutely love, and her relationship. She's got this guy, Joel, who is from America. He's got loads of problems in him, and he's a brilliant guy, and it's just absolutely incredible. I love this book. I could easily pick any of the Jenny Colgan books, so I just think it's just amazing. Like, it's an amazing, comforty book. It's about friendships. Like, she's got a great friendship with her best friend Lorna, who I absolutely loved. And Flora's just brilliant. It's just one of my favourite books. Actually, no, the first book is actually The Summer at the Seaside Kitchen. And that's brilliant. So I think The Summer at the Seaside Kitchen is the first, and this is the second. But both books are great. This second one is brilliant because we've already met the characters in the first book, The Summerside Kitchen. And when Lorna returned home, so I should have brought the first book. Sorry, guys. I told you I'm not really organised. It's a Monday morning when I'm filming this. But Flora is a brilliant character. Her relationship with her brothers is great in this as well. It's one that's really cosy, and her relationship with her brothers now that she's home. I think the second one to me is better than the first, because the first we meet the characters. We meet Flora, we meet her brothers, who are very different. She's got 3 brothers, Finton, Hamish, and Innes. And now that she's home in the second book, she's already gone back to them. She's a brilliant character, and then, you know, and then in this second one she's got a relationship with Joel. So that's a sneaky peek to the first book, because that's where she kind of gets with him. But Lorna, her friendship with Lorna is brilliant. This is just a brilliant feel-good book, one I thoroughly loved, and I can't believe I spent 2 minutes talking about it. But I will also say that when I talk about this book that's steadfast comfort, always there for you, I think, to me, there are other books in this series. So the Sweet Shop series is brilliant. The Rosie Hopkins Sweet Shop series, that's another brilliant series. sneaky peek to my series goal. I'm going to be rereading the Little Beach Street Bakery series next year, because that's another brilliant series by this lady. Her series books are brilliant. Oh, and you've also got the amazing series, which I thoroughly loved, which is the one series that's newish out. And I can't remember the name of it. But she's got brilliant series, and I think they're brilliant. So, yeah, Jenny Colgan books. If you want a comfort book, go to Jenny Colgan. She's always going to make you smile. She's one of my favourite contemporary authors. And she also replies on Instagram. Always good. Grandmother's Quilt is number 2. A book that reminds you of a loved one, or a comforting book that was given to you or read to you aloud by someone you love. Now, apparently, my mum read some books to me, and I can't remember which ones, and I think my sister told me about them, and I don't think I can remember. Mum did read some books to me, but I didn't decide to go with that because I couldn't remember exactly what she read to me. But what I have gone for is a book that my daughter gave me for Mother's Day this year, A Mother Forever by Elaine Everest, who you know is another one of my favourite authors. Mia gave this to me, my daughter, so that automatically counts as that one. It's a comforting book. Well, it's Elaine Everest. You know I love her books. Yes, it's comforting, but it does have some harrowing bits. And it reminds you of a loved one. Right, that bit, I will say, is the mother part. My mum is the best mum ever. Thoroughly, totally and utterly. She is my favourite person in the world, apart from my kids, obviously. And Ruby Castleton has always reminded me of the Lady and Lady. This is a prequel to the Woolworths Girl series. And Ruby Castleton is a great mother figure. Now, she kind of reminds me of a mixture of my mum and her mum, my nan. My nan was literally another person. When she was alive, God, she was... I think in a lot of ways, actually, Ruby reminds me of my nan. Because my nan had 8 kids. I've come from a big family. She was the ultimate matriarch of the family. She had problems in her world, but she never ever let anything get to her. She was the best nan ever, and I believe a great mum. But to me, Ruby Castleton in the Woolworths Girl series reminds me of my nan. In the Woolworths Girl series, it's my nan that she reminds me of. But in this book, the kind of similarities between her, both my mum and my nan, are sort of very prominent. And my dad wasn't always the greatest of guys, and the relationship Ruby has with her husband, Eddie, reminds me of my mum and my dad, because my dad was a bit of a git in his time. And Ruby really fights for her children. She fights for what's right. She's a strong character, an ultimate matriarch, and that matriarchal figure is prominent in both my nan, my mum and my nan. So that's why I love this book, and it's just one of my favourite books of the year. I just love it, love it, love it. Can't wait. I literally love all of Elaine Everest books. So here we go. Next prompt is number 3, Warm Spice, a book with a particularly vivid prose or imagery. A story comforting in its richness, depth or vibrance. Now, the book I picked is not necessarily comforting, but it's very rich, very bright, very vibrant, very deep, and has a very particularly vivid prose. So that's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. You've got to admit, the way she describes the darkness and depths and the prose is just amazing. Daphne du Maurier is an amazing writer, and she wrote some of the best books with the most vivid prose, the vibrance, the depth. It's all in this book. Yes, it's not necessarily comforting because it's quite dark in times, but the prose is just amazing, so I had to include this book for that. So, does this count? Kind of, do you think I can get away with it? Couldn't think of anything else with a very vivid prose, so I thought that was brilliant. That was the first book I thought of for that. And the depth and the vibrance. Yeah, definitely in this book. Number 4, Candlelight. A book that keeps you going or encourages you when things feel dark. I think for me, this book stood out because it's Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I want to reread it again because I read it at the start of the year. I got given this copy by a lovely friend, Kat from Brews and Reviews, and I've left her thingy. I don't know where. I always like to keep that, but this reminds me that when things get dark, because she has Chloe Brown has chronic pain in this book, and she battles against it. She battles against all her own problems. And I think it reminds me of my chronic pain and my own problems, that if she can do it, I can do it. And that's where I think and the way she deals with it is just incredible. The fact that, yeah, some days are shit, some days are rubbish, and your chronic pain will get to you some days and you'll need to rest and recuperate. And the way she bounces back, the way she says get a life, she does get a life. She goes for her life goals. And I think that reminds me of when I have my problems, that I can still achieve goals. I have achieved goals. And the writing is incredible in this. I also like the saucy bits in it as well, because yes, it's very saucy and a bit rude, but it does encourage me because of that. And I think it's nice to read about someone with chronic pain like me. So I think that's a perfect answer for that. Now I'm turning over the page. I'm sorry about this. So I'm hoping this video is going to be alright. Laugh Medicine, number 5. A book that makes you laugh out loud or grin wildly, coming to the rescue in the gloomiest of days. I'm going to say Al Doris, and I've just decided I'm going to add this to my January TBR because it's only about less than 200 pages. The first in the Al Doris series, and seeing as Charlie is getting is nearly finished the 4th book in the series, better get on and reread this series, haven't I? You guys know I love Charlie Heathcote's books. You know I love Al Doris. It's always a book that makes me smile. It's always such amazing prose, and he makes me laugh something chronic. It's the first in the series. The Al Doris series by Charlie is one of my favourite series ever. I will always rave about him. I will link his channel down below. Charlie, if you want to do this video as well, go for it. Because I just think he's brilliant. His character of Harold and his relationship with his wife. Harold is the narrator in this, and it's Doris's husband, a long-standing husband. And this book is brilliant. It's just one that will always make you smile. So I'm going to reread it in January. Why not? There you go. So I'm going to put that over that pile so it will go on my January TBR pile. Now number 6. In bed all day. You've got a warm drink, a cosy blanket. My cosy blanket's over there. And maybe your grandmother's quilt. What do you read when you're cuddled in bed all day, or for a couple of hours anyway? For starters, cuddled in bed all day? Even for a few hours with my kids, my cat, my Chris? No chance. I will never ever get a day in bed. I would love, I'll tell you one thing, I may set a goal over Christmas to have, because I've got 2 weeks off. Thank you, boss. I've got 2 weeks off for Christmas. So I may have a lazy cuddle at home day. I may have at least try and see if the kids let me lay in for a few hours even. That would be a dream. But it never happens with kids, does it? But obviously me, I'm a speed reader. So I would need a book that would I would be able to take my time on. That I would know I would love. So I would need a book that I would be like a reread. Rereading one of my favourites. Another hint to my January TBR. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now, I could have picked Wuthering Heights, but I think, to me, Jane Eyre is the one I would want to reread in the day, because I've read Wuthering Heights so many times now that I've kind of, I would probably read it in a day, but there's something about Jane Eyre. I can't describe to you why I decided to go for this. I was given this copy by the lovely Chloe from Chloe's World of Books. She's amazing. She's one of my BookTube besties, and we're reading this in January. And I would love to read this in a day. Obviously, when I'm reading it with Chloe, we're going to read like 50 pages a day, knowing us. But there's just something about Jane Eyre. I think what I love about this is there's hope in it. That it tackles so many hard-hitting issues, but it's still written beautifully. It's not too dark, but it has darkness. It's just a real mixture of emotions. So this would be one that I would love to sit in bed all day and read, because I could just lose myself in it. Yes, that's another January book. Cripes, I've got a load of... You guys are getting real sneaky peeks. Next book, Endless Comfort, a book that brings you solace no matter how many times you reread it. And obviously you would have all seen my Anne Long, Anne of Green Gables. I could reread this a million, billion, gazillion times. I've read it when I was a child. I read it a couple of years ago when Tia hosted a read-along of it. I'm hosting a read-along of it. I could lose myself in this all the time. It's one of my favourite books ever, and you all know about it. I've talked about it on the read along video. I've talked about it, which I'll link below if I remember. It's about Anne of Green Gables, who is like the adopted child of the Cuthberts, and she has creative imagination. It stands full of hope. It's easy to read. It's a brilliant brilliant book, and I've read it and I love it, and it's comforting and it's everything, and it's magical and it reminds me of my childhood, and it's bloody brilliant. Love it. Right, Portable Hope, a book that restores your faith in humanity, faith in life, faith in yourself. A book that says it's going to be okay, the world is a good thing, and tomorrow will be brighter. Now, I've picked a book that is going to be, that's probably going to be up there in my favourites of the year. Can't tell you its position because I don't want to tell you. But this one, and it's strange to say this because this one, someone I used to know, has got a lot of darkness in it, in the fact that there is something traumatic that happens, and it's woven through this book. But the reason why I think I picked it for saying it's going to be brighter and things are going to be okay is the ending. And I can't obviously spoil the ending for you. But this book reminds me of, it talks about fostering. It talks about a mother that, you know, she's a girl whose parents had fostered, and their stories of hope. And it's the fact that it reminds me of fostering, how we restored faith. You know, as a family, we helped get children back on their feet. And we did that. And I think that fostering element really reminds me of that. And the girl's strength, Leah, who doesn't think she's got the strength in her to have some of the battles that she has. And she's had some real battles in her life. And George has had his battle with his foster brother. And their story is amazing. And the friendships in this book, the way that it restores humanity, that fostering these things that these families did to build these children back up again, and their battles, it reminds me that we can do this, and if we support each other we can get through anything. And I think Paige Toon's writing is one of my favourites. You guys know she is my favourite author of all time, and that's why I think I would like to pick this book, because it restores my faith. It reminds me that there are good people in the world that will fight for the other people. Loved it. Right, the next one. A basket for your neighbours. Just as it's lovely to be comforted by books, it's lovely book the comfort, pass the comfort along. See, I've told you my handwriting got worse as I wrote this out. Imagine you are putting together a comfort basket for your neighbour, friend, loved one, take your pick. Which books would you include? Now, you guys know, to a lot of my booktube friends, I send parcels of books. I send books that I think will make them smile. Right now, on the day of filming this, I've got parcels for some booktube friends. I think they know they're getting them. Jack from Spread Book Joy, she's getting one. And Charlie, Chloe, obviously Gemma's already had hers. So I've got Christmas presents. So I can't tell you what I would send those people because they're already having them in the post. And I don't want them to know what they're getting before they get them. So I do love sending books. And I personally think it's not about what books you would necessarily pass on. Every person has got a different package. Every person has got something different that I like to books, different kind of books that would suit them. So what I've decided to do, rather than, because obviously I don't want them to know, my friends to know what they've got them, I'm going to tell you 3 books that I would give to my mum, and I'm going to be lending to her at some point. So mum, if you're watching this, you're going to get to be lent these books. Because I think she's obviously, we again, in our family, me and Charlie and Vicky, and my mum, we all pass each other books and lend each other books. I'm going to pick 3 books I know she would love, because a lot of you guys out there would love them. In fact, Jack, you would love them. So the first one is The Tea Shop Girls by Elaine Everest, because like I just said to you, my mum loves Elaine Everest books as well. And this one is one that I'm going to be reading next year. So once I've read it, she's going to read it. And I've not read the Tea Shop Girls series yet, so it's only two books at the moment, this series. And this one's about Rose Neville, who's in the early 1940s and the World War II is starting to take hold of the country. Again, Elaine Everest mainly sets herself on this. Rose Neville works in the Lions tea shop, nippy on the Kent coast alongside her childhood friends, Lily and Katie. So this is brilliant. I know I'm going to love this, so I think she would love this too. A series that I've read and I'm finishing this week, that I'm reading with Charlie, and this is A Pinch of Magic. I know my mum loves middle grade books. She loves magic. She loves books on sisters, and I think she would love this book, and I think she will love this series. So once I finish the series, I'm going to lend it to her. This is a brilliant series. I know there's a 4th book coming out next year, which I will be buying. About 3 magical sisters. Mum would love this. And then lastly, one I don't know if I've lent her or not, Mum. If you're watching this, let me know. The Paris Library by Janet Skilton Child, which I got sent for a read along last year, this year with Tandem, and it's beautiful. It's about obviously a Paris library in the World War II. It's got a dual timeline. It's brilliant. My mum loves books on books as well. I think she would really love this. And lastly, didn't realise this video was going to be too long. A Walk in the Woods. Though we like to stay curled up indoors with our books forever, or at least I would, we've got to venture out into the world again. Sometimes a walk in the woods helps me feel refreshed, unless I happen to come across some spiders. But let's not talk about that. These are the prompts. Tell us about a book with nature writing or a book that restores your peace. One that I'm currently reading with the lovely Ange from Angie's Book Chatter is A Single Thread. Now, this has got a great nature story in it, because in this book, at one point, the lovely leading lady, Violet, is going on a little a trip. And she's going from Winchester down to, I think, the Isle of Wight or something. She goes on a lovely journey, and the nature writing for her journey is beautiful. The way she talks about Winchester and Winchester Cathedral, where she's working, is beautiful. So it's got the nature setting in that. And I think that's gorgeous. So it's kind of cheating that this is the book I'm picking for that. Anyway, like I said, this video is way longer than I was expecting it to be. But, hey ho, you know I like to ramble. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.